Megan, when we're thinking about behavior here, I've already heard us talking about a few things that order matters. We need to do the discovery and the diagnosis before we do the prescribing and the educating. And so we have the Sandler rule: sell today, educate tomorrow. But I'm also wondering if it's not the professional that's listening to this, if it's maybe a founder or a CEO or a sales manager. Can you talk a little bit about when is the right time to bring in the technical expertise, or when in the sales process we do different things?
The really good question, and what we've talked about with some of our clients is that if we can as the salesperson just sort of qualify a few key things up front and really get a better understanding of, is this real? Is this really an opportunity that we even want to work on? Is this something that, I don't know, that they have some challenges and frustrations and problems that we can even solve? Are they even committed to solving them? And do they start to see us as a potential match? If we can kind of get those things covered first before we bring in the technical person, then therefore we're setting the technical person up to do more question asking and diving deeper into what's really going on. Because the problem is currently that we see with a lot of these kinds of organizations is the salesperson will wind the technical person up, so to speak, kind of, twist the thing, the key on the back, and bring them into a meeting and let them go. And they do all the talking and they do 90% of the talking and very little of the question asking. And therefore the results are affecting that tremendously. And they're getting ghosted, or there's no next step, or it's very murky in terms of where we go from here. And might even leave the opportunity, the prospect, the buyer, even more confused than where they started. So we're seeing if there can be much more harder, even maybe disqualification up front, really more of that mindset on the first initial meeting, and then really teeing up the technical person as, hey, this person I'm bringing in is kind of the higher level diagnostician to really dive deeper into what's going on, and still that mindset of we still need to know a lot more before we can prescribe. And that's why I'm bringing in this technical person.
I think that's good. And Haley, what about you? I think there's a couple of other things that come to mind there for me, like letting them understand. We already hinted at having a pre-call plan to make sure we know what we're talking about and what's going to be covered, and maybe what's not going to be covered. Sometimes when I see mistakes, I see the technical person maybe trying to sell or trying to do some things that we would call like traditional selling, and they're trying to make it sound bright and perfect and stuff. And they're I think the first rule should kind of be like, don't mess up the sale first. Yeah. Like, don't say anything they don't want to hear. And sometimes engineers can paint themselves in seagulls, is a Sandler term, like start putting in stuff that the buyer didn't ask about, or confusing an issue that was a pretty simple decision for people. Can you talk a little bit about how and when to jump into a conversation?
I think you're right, Mike. And I love this idea of focusing on preparation and planning. Everybody needs to be on the same page before we go and do anything. And one of the things that we need to be on the same page about in our organizations is that I'm not there to sell something. And I know that sounds shocking for our listeners because we're in sales and we're talking about not selling something, but that's the reality of it. If we can prepare ourselves in such a way that we're here to figure out and determine and discover and diagnose and uncover, then that right there is going to set the tone for the kind of meeting we're about ready to have. If we're going in to try to convince, try to sell, try to do a feature benefit presentation, and oh, by the way, it comes in blue and we can have it delivered on Tuesday, then we're setting ourselves up for a very different kind of conversation. And I think that if we all begin to take the path least traveled, which is that I'm not there to sell something, then it takes all the pressure off from the technical team, the salesperson. Maybe there's a vendor partner that comes in. Like, look, we're not here, group, to sell anything. We're here to uncover information and determine what the next best action step is and make that really, really clear. I think that's really important. And your technical teams And all these types of companies out there are on the front lines. They're with the clients all the time, right? They have the badge. They're at the company. They can go in and see these people anytime, right? And salespeople have their challenges of getting into these companies. So we feel like, look, the hidden sales force is really these technical people. They're on the front lines. They're there, and let's give them 2-3 key questions that they can ask to uncover information and opportunity, and that's all they have to do. And before you know it, there's going to be so much more opportunity uncovered that we can go and grab market share there, which I know is on the minds of everybody. It's more expensive to go find a completely new customer that's unknown to us than it is to work with our current companies and current customers and expand that business. So I think that's also another key element, is helping people understand how fast we really can grow in our companies by unlocking sort of our hidden sales force, if you will.